Good morning, hello and welcome. It's Thursday, the 20th of October, and I'm David Bell, and as always, joined in the studio with Mr. Nick Luby. And we're back for another business breakfast show where we'll be talking everything about networking and referrals this morning. And well, what a great morning it is. It is a little bit dull outside. The leaves are falling from the trees. Autumn is certainly upon us, but that does not stop us being here full of fun, full of lots of conversation to talk about and hopefully entertain at the same time too. Now, remember, if you've got any comments, anything you want to share with us, maybe a shout out for who you are, what you do, your business, then you can do that. Pop that into the chat box. Let us know what it's like in your part of the world, because we are broadcasting not just around the UK, but yes, across the world. And today we have a guest where in their time zone, it's approaching or it's just gone 6 o'clock in the evening, all the way from Sydney, Australia. We're going to be hearing from our guest in a short while. Morning, Nick. How has the week been for you? Has it been an exciting week? Lots happening in the news. Some of the stuff.
Oh my goodness! Well, I guess we ought to talk a little bit about the news. My week's been good, mate. Yeah, it's busy. There's stuff going on, which is always nice. Some training stuff online. I'd much prefer it to be in room, of course, but some training stuff. We're off to an event after the show. It's getting out and about a bit. It's a bit more difficult to get up in the mornings though, because it's dark. I struggle. I don't mind the darker mornings. Okay, I'll be looking forward to when the clocks change, but it's just a little bit more. You wake up thinking it's a bit too early because it's so dark. But I guess if you're motivated, you run in a business, you're up and you're out. Right? I know you're an early bird. It'd be lovely to hear from our lovely audience. Come on, get stuck in. You're at your desks already, because there's no time to waste in business these days. Times are reasonably tough. So you're at your desks, get involved, put some comments into the chat. Let us know how you're getting on, and get involved in these conversations. But yeah, good week so far. Thank you, my friend.
That's good to hear. Yeah, Nick, as you're right, we are off after the show. As soon as we conclude today's show, we're jumping in the car and we're whisking off down to Southend-on-Sea, where we're supporting Networking Essex. Over 80 businesses in the room exhibiting. Nick and I have taken the liberty to pop ourselves on a stand there to have some great conversations and meet people face to face and learn more about them. And we're there gathering information for our up and coming book, which will be, well, hopefully published and in the domain in the new year time. So we're going to be going out and talking to all these business owners and getting their feedback and getting their input and getting their top tips. So here's a shout out to everybody that's listening. Maybe you're watching this on catch up. You can still participate. We are looking for your top business tip that you've learned through the times of running businesses or working within an organization. And we encourage you to send that to us. Now, we can't confirm or deny whether you'll be in the book at this stage. We're looking for 100 tips to include in our first edition of the book. And we've already got quite a few, because all our great guests have come on the show over the past, nearly 2 years now, believe it or not, but over the past 18, 19 months have all contributed with a top tip. So we're going to certainly be filtering through. The best ones are going to go into the first edition of the book. So if you've got a top tip that you think is worthy of being included in the first edition of the Chatbox book, we do have a brand and a title for it, but we're keeping that under covers at the moment. Ping it on an email to us. You can email us at hello@chatboxproductions.com. We'd suggest you email it. You can put it in the chat if you like, but if it comes in an email, we can then keep that filtered off. We know we've got it. So make your contributions. Start sharing your top tips for helping other business owners.
One of the things I love about business, right, is most businesses, certainly most businesses I come across, they're lovely. Right? They don't mind sharing. You ask for something, they're more than happy to help. If you need some advice, if you need some guidance, and if people have been there and done it before, they're more than happy to assist and point you in the right direction. Or if you're very lucky, refer you on to someone who's been there, done it, and is a real asset. And today's show is all about networking and referrals. So our lovely guest, who's waiting patiently in the green room, is gonna help certainly me, because I know I should do more ask for more referrals. I don't mind referring people on. I just don't seem to ask for many. I've got a lot to learn. I think I might have my ass kicked today, but I don't mind that. Good advice. Every day's a school day, as you say. So yes, lovely businesses, if you don't mind sharing your top tip, the thing that you would suggest to a younger version of yourself to put them on the right road, then we'll be very keen to hear what that is. And ideally include it in the lovely Chatbox top tip book.
Yeah. And don't forget, actually, I'm going to pop this up on the screen here. So this is Networking Essex, where we're off to later on today. This is networking. Yes, Nick and I have got to stand there along with lots of other people exhibiting their business. But at the end of the day, it is networking. We are going to be meeting, greeting, conversations, sharing, caring, learning. It's going to be fantastic. So if you are around that South End area or can get there, come along today. It'd be great to see. You can find out more information at networking-essex.co.uk as well.
Brilliant. So let's talk about the news, mate. There's some stuff going on here in the UK that if it was a business, I think the business would be on the rocks. But it's not a business. Well, kind of it is. It isn't. Stuff going on at number 10.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of almost laughable, isn't it? We'll ask our guest that's coming on the show, are we the laughing stock of the world? Because I think we are. I mean, we can't keep our own affairs in order. I reckon every other country around the world is looking at the UK right now and going, oh my God, what is happening there? Now, look, I do like a little bit of politics. I'm not saying I'm great on it, but I like to debate it and discuss it. And it's always good over a glass of wine because it gets a little bit more debatable and, the discussion goes a lot deeper. But I don't want to get too political this morning. I want to look at the situation as a whole. Liz Truss, has come in, picking up the pieces and come in and just, with Kwasi Kwarteng has just kind of ruined it. But, let's sack the person that stood up and was the puppet. But the person that's really responsible is still in power. And every person I hear on the radio or in the news or seeing commenting in the press, and these are the peers, and I get the people are against as well, but she's got to go, and I have to agree. But I think we're going to have to go to a general election. But the only way to trigger that general election is for Liz to kind of go, do you know what? I've made a mistake. I'm going to stand down. Let's let the voters take that opportunity to vote on our next steps and not just put someone else back into power. And I think they're all useless. I'm sorry. I think they're like having an ashtray on a motorbike. They're like a chocolate teapot. They're not adding any value.
You got any more? You got any more of those? Come on.
I'll keep digging. I don't think they can tie their own shoelaces. I think this is the problem at the moment. We've got a government that cannot govern. They cannot even look after their own affairs, let alone the affairs of the rest of the country. Let's be honest. Since these changes come into place, mortgages have gone up, cost of living's increased, inflation's on the rise. I'm not putting all the blame firmly on the doorstep of the Conservative Party or this individual, but they've got to take responsibility. And as business owners, as directors, as shareholders of our own businesses or maybe other people's businesses, we take that responsibility. Why aren't they? So there's my soapbox this morning. And just to be very clear, I'm not going to say which way I would vote now, but I don't think I'll be voting for that blue party. I think I would look at other options available to me. And I would vote for the person that deserves that vote. I don't think any of them are much good personally at the moment, but it certainly wouldn't be going in that direction of that colour. Well, what do you think, Nick? I mean, you're a bit more kind of liberal than I am at times. You like to say what you think as well.
So I suppose that's a good thing that comes out of the mess, the dizzying shambles that seems to be what's going on at the moment, is people hopefully will open their eyes and look for other alternatives. They won't just be sold a story by various media outlets. They'll look at it deeper and think, hold on a second, I believe that didn't turn out to be true. What else is out there? So maybe people will be a bit more open. We've talked about something similar from a business perspective in the past. The good old Gerald Ratner, right? Got up there behind the podium, said some stuff, made some mistakes, and within moments completely destroyed the business. So if, for example, the government was a business, it reminds me of something along those lines. What a mess, made some mistakes, promised things, said things that didn't turn out to be the case. And the business did not survive. Right? And unfortunately, Joe Ratner's probably doing fine now, but all of the people that worked for Ratner's at the time suddenly didn't have any work to go to. So in a business environment, well, I couldn't run my business like that. I couldn't say, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. Imagine going to your client, right, later and saying, I'm going to do these three things. And the client going, all right, then I'll buy it. No problem. And then turn around and going, oh, thanks for your money, but I'm not going to do any of those three things now. What? You wouldn't get away with it, right? You wouldn't get away with it. Your business
carrot and stick springs to mind. We're dangle this carrot, and everyone goes, "Oh," or most people would have gone, "Oh, that's great," because there was in the previous mini budget something for everybody, apart from the country. But for individuals, it looked prosperous. And then they've gone, "Oh, actually, no, we're going to take all that away. We kind of made a mistake, and we're going to take it all back, and now we're going to whack you with a stick to keep you going forwards." And it's costing families. The average family, if they've got a mortgage, could see an increase of over £5,000 a month in their mortgage costs.
A month.
I mean, it's ludicrous.
In a year.
This is absolutely ludicrous. I say vote for David Bell for next PM. Let me get in there and shuffle it up a little bit. There'll be no one left working, by the way, because I'll be like, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone, because I just think it is a disaster. And all they're worried about is their own jobs. I really do believe they're just trying to protect their own individual interests. They don't care about their constituents, or most don't. That's pretty unfair, because I know a few good MPs actually, and I think they would listen and do the right thing. But last night they all been shoveled in to vote for fracking, and there was, I can't remember who the MP was, but he has 2 fracking sites or potential fracking sites in his constituent area. He didn't want to vote for it to go ahead, but he was made to vote. And he now knows that probably his constituents are going to get rid of him. They won't vote for him because he went against exactly what he was trying to stop. And he was in tears. The feedback was he was in tears. That's not a way to run a business. How can a business carry on running like that? So there's inquiries now going ahead, and I'm sure the news will tell us more as facts unfold today. But look,
this question, right? I don't know the answer to it. Do they have an HR department?
Well, I think they're very busy.
In business, right? There'd be a call to HR saying, "I'm a bit unhappy, right? There's been an incident at work, and it brought me to tears. And can you help me sort it out, please?" It would be a very busy HR department right now. I don't know. I don't know if the same processes are applied to, let's say, a group of ministers or not. I don't know. If you know, let us know. Who's in charge of the HR department of Her Majesty's government?
They resigned last night. They'd had enough. They were out of there.
It's a shame, isn't it? It's a shame. It's a real shame. Above all of the nonsense that's going on, it's a real shame, because most of us just want to be just leave us alone. Just let us get on with running our businesses. All right, you take care of all the big choices. All right, I just want to make a crust. I want to turn up. I want to work with great people and enjoy what I do. I don't need all of the noise. Right, it's tough enough as it is. It's a real shame that there's a massive distraction going on, whereas the country just needs to get the head down, crack on, and do some cool business, which unfortunately we seem to be one hand tied behind our backs.
Yeah, it's tough out there, and let's not say that.
Disappointed. All right, the Chatbox team are disappointed.
Yeah, the Chatbox team will take over government and rule one day.
Oh, you do that, mate. I couldn't. If you were offered the job, right, tomorrow,
I wouldn't take it.
I've heard you on the show, right? You said you want to be Prime Minister. It's yours if you want it. Would you take it?
No, no chance.
No chance.
I might try to do the decent thing and make things happen, but I don't think I'd want that responsibility. Look, you're not going to please everybody. That is the big thing. But you've got to please the majority, because they're the people that are behind you. They are your team at the end of the day. Why are we talking about government? Because we think it's a mess. And let's be honest, businesses build their rapport through referrals, through networking, and it takes time. Relationships are built over time, and they can be very quickly destroyed and ruined. And I think that's what the government is doing. They're ruining relationships, destroying them ultra quick. Would you refer the government, if that was a business, would you be referring it to a friend or a fellow, or a potential customer or supplier? No, you wouldn't. You'd be keeping your mouth closed firmly. But that's what today's show is all about. It's all about referrals. It's all about recommendations. It's all about networking and finding the way to grow and develop your business. We're going to be back straight after this. And when we are, we're going to be welcoming our first guest onto the breakfast show this morning. And just a quick shout out.
Promo creator, the magical Mei King Sang, who was on the show last week and also on the StreamAid show, one of the StreamAid team. If you missed it, you can catch up. Our environmental show, StreamAid Live, was on Monday, the Monday night takeaway. My privilege to host that with Mei King, with my great friend David here and Mr. Keith Smith in America, talking about all things environmental. What are we as businesses? What can we do better to try and help this massive crisis that's going on with our climate? And Mei King was there working very hard with the team.
Yeah, she works the magic behind the scenes to get the communication channels open and communicating on social platforms. So thank you, Mei King, as always, for being a sponsor of the show as well. We'll come back to the StreamAid thing after our guest this morning, where we'll be showing a few little video clips which will possibly make you smile, make you cringe, and make you think a little bit harder about what's happening out there in the world. But before we get to that, we'd like to welcome our first guest onto the breakfast show this morning. Joining us, coming all the way from Australia. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Steve Sweeney. Good morning, Steve, and welcome.
Good morning, David and Nick, and thanks for having me here. It's an absolute pleasure to be here today. Thank you very much. I feel for your country. That's not going to solve any of your problems, but I feel for your country.
Just out of interest, Steve, before we kind of dive into a little bit about who you are, what you do, sure, and the really important stuff, what's your opinion? I mean, you have ties to the UK through relationships and through business. As an outsider, not here, are we a laughing stock? Or does it look silly to you from the outside? Are you sitting there thinking, my God, this country that once upon a time used to rule is now kind of on its knees and falling apart at the seams? Do you kind of sit there and think that? Is that a conversation you have over your evening dinner?
It's certainly a conversation that's starting to happen more and more, but take heart with this. Not that long ago, we were saying the same things about America. And before that, we were certainly saying the same things about here in Australia, because there seemed to be a whole lot of stuff going wrong at the political level in our country as well. So, guys, it's just your turn. You'll get through it.
That makes me feel
right
better.
Now, it's just your turn.
I cannot believe we are being talked about in the same sentences as American politics of a few years ago. Dearie me.
I'm not comparing you to the personalities. I'm not comparing you to the personalities involved, but that it is your turn to be on the center stage of the world. It's your turn.
Brilliant. Steve, let's dive a little bit in. Let's find out a little bit more about Steve and what you do, the Australian Referral Training Academy, or ARTA, as I think is the abbreviation of that. Tell us a little bit more about you, Steve, and tell us a little bit more about ARTA and what that does.
Sure. So ARTA is my own company. I'm very proud of it. I've been running it for the better part of 3 years. It's been up as an entity. But to be quite honest, I've only really been serious about it for the past 4 or 5 months because I've had to extricate myself. I don't know if you've ever had to extricate yourself from another business, but that certainly is what I... Oh, it is. There are certain parts of it that stay stuck in, and you've got to really work hard to get it out. Anyway, I have finally managed to do that. That was a copywriting business that largely just runs itself right now. I've got to look in from time to time, but it took me longer than I wanted to extricate myself from it. But now that I have, I'm starting to make inroads in ARTA. It's my love. It's my pride and joy. I love getting up out of bed every morning, like you guys started out with discussing this morning. you love helping people. You love being a business owner, helping another business owner. That's where I feel very comfortable, and that I'm able to make good inroads to be of assistance.
I'd like this is very much in keeping with what I thought networking referrals is all about. It's helping other people, pointing them in the right direction, especially if that this organization that you're going to refer people to has a great reputation. That's why I'm struggling with all things government at the moment, because the reputation is on the floor. So let's assume, okay, I've got quite a bit to learn here, Steve. I'm not kind of backward in coming forward, but I don't ask for referrals anywhere near as much as I should, which is a bit daft, because I know they're great. There's great methods of winning business, and I do great work. So why wouldn't people refer me? But there's a part of me think, well, if I was that good, they would refer me anyway. So am I stitching myself up here by not specifically asking someone to please, can you refer me? How does the system work, or how should it work?
I'll get to your point first there, Nick, and then perhaps talk about the system secondly after that. But in relation to your question, it's funny you bring that up, because I was just having a conversation with a client about that an hour ago. People see this gentleman, my client, as being bulletproof, full of life, $1 million man, and his son was in the room as well. He's a gentleman about my age, and his son is probably in his low 30s, I would say. So got some experience under his belt. And his son was nodding all the way through when I said those things about his dad. Are people seeing you as bulletproof? Are you people seeing you as so successful? Are people seeing you as, and this is the kicker, someone who doesn't need my help? Because if you are regarded as someone who doesn't need somebody's help, then there are other people out there that do need their help, and they recognize that. We've only got so much help to give, right? And so we have to make choices every day about where we put our energies into absolutely everything. And I'm not saying you don't do this, Nick. Obviously, this is the first time that we've met each other, but having a conversation with somebody and saying something along the lines of, geez, I'd really love a referral into, a business that does XYZ, whatever it is. And if you're having that conversation with somebody whom you've already given 5, 6, 7, 8 referrals to, guess what they want? They want those referrals to keep flowing, right? So you don't say it. I'm not advocating that, but it's certainly a seed that you plant, right? It's certainly a seed you plant, because you could pass those referrals to anybody who does what this other business person does, right? You got to keep the love going around in the referral world, and in the absence of the love going around, it just goes one way, and then it goes one way for a certain amount of time, and then it stops, right? So you got to keep the love going around.
Let's talk a little bit about networking, because lots of great referrals can come through networking. I call it relationship building, because that's what it is at the end of the day. You're there, you're networking with others, whether it's business networking, whether it's social networking, whether it's you bump into somebody down the pub that maybe you kind of met before but don't really know. You get a conversation flowing, and all of a sudden you start to learn something about each other, whether it's the personal side, whether it's their business side. But that networking develops a relationship. From a relationship, people start to trust you, because it's not built there and then, not even overnight. It can take weeks and months in some cases to build that element of trust. And that's when the referrals, to me, will start to happen. The magic starts to happen much further on down the road. I've had my fingers burnt before. I've referred somebody and probably too soon and not really knowing, and then it's kind of come back and bit me on the backside a little bit. But let's talk about networking, specifically around business networking. I know you used to be a great advocate for a large international networking group known as BNI, which I'd imagine most listeners, viewers would probably have some understanding of. But talk us through a little bit, without going into all kind of the detail of BNI, but the benefits of networking. So BNI, yes, but the overall, the kind of benefits that come from networking and building those relationships.
So you've already mentioned one of them, which is referrals, and we're probably going to get into that a little bit later on. So I'll move on from that one. To me, one of the best things is the camaraderie that develops between referral partners. Okay, so referral partners are the special people for want of a better way of expressing it right now, whom you have that deeper relationship with. Okay, so there's all these people that you meet, and you have a few conversations with them, and the relationship stays there. All right, so from those people, you might get the occasional referral here and there, but the special relationships that you have with people whom you're willing to say, hey, we're referral partners, we're going to go out of our way to be exchanging referrals on a regular basis. Those are absolutely fabulous, because people become more than someone who is important to your business. People become someone who is important in your life. Mm. And so they're there for the good times, they're there for the bad times. You all know when you are in a referral partner relationship, you've just got the other people's backs and they've got yours. And that is the genesis of the best referrals that can be exchanged, which I'm sure we'll come to later. Those are called the proactive ones. But it's those deeper relationships. It's probably only going to happen with 5, 6, 7 people, whatever it is. But once you find those people, that's where the gold is, number one. And it's also number two, that's where those very special relationships are as well.
This is great, right? So the idea of having 5 people that are proactively going to refer me and my business, and I'll do the same, sounds brilliant. And how do I find them, though? Is it as simple as just asking, or is there a special kind of handshake?
You can develop your special handshake if you want, but perhaps yes, whatever it might be, that's up to you guys. But I regard networking as a search for referral partners, not a search for clients. Okay, clients, depending upon the nature of your business, some clients, they come and they go with other businesses. Some clients come and they stay around. It's just the nature of the service agreement that you've undertaken with each other. But a client is a client, right? Extraordinarily important, but they're one client. A referral partner has the potential to feed you multiple clients. So if you approach your networking as a search for referral partners, so people that you can help and who can help you, then you're on a much better track as a business owner. But beyond that, as I was stressing before, the relationships that come from it beyond the business benefits are significant. There's a glut of people out there right now that I have seen who are making a point of going from networking group to networking group and networking group and networking group, and I could go on, and they're building a gazillion shallow relationships, and it's going nowhere. The best referrals come from deep relationships.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. A couple of things here.
Sure.
When you're building this, so from networking, you're building a network of, let's call them the referrers here. So people that are not necessarily the end client, but they are people that I think, I'd pretty also like to use the word advocates. So they're, they're advocating who you are, what you can do. Hence, they're willing to refer you. They've built a relationship with you. They understand you and you understand them. They know what you do. They know the limit of your expertise and how you can help others, because I think that's the important part. So they have to be quite integral. They must have a good understanding of you. You can't just say, well, I don't know, I meet someone, they're a web designer and I can refer them, because I don't know maybe what they do in web design or what their abilities are or the bits that they like doing. So I suppose here's a couple of questions. One, how do you find the good referrers? How do you build that quality, stable relationship with them? And how do you incentivize them? Or do you even need to incentivize them? Because some will do something for nothing. I'm a connector. I like to join the dots. I am happy to refer and put people in touch. But at the same time, I can suggest this person's a good person for you, but you need to obviously build your own relationship. So I suppose the question is, how do you find them? How do you keep them? How do you incentivize them?
Sure. Find, keep, incentivize. I've got to keep it in
pressure.
now. How do you find them? The best referral partners are the people who service your target market. Okay, so you've got to identify who is your target market first. You got to go through that exercise, all right? And this is a common thing that I do when I'm training clients or groups or whatever it is, right? There's a number of excellent reasons to be able to identify your target market and wonderful things that come from it. Generally speaking, in marketing, if you can walk a mile in your client's shoes because you understand who they are so well, then any marketing that you put out there is not the white noise that the rest of us just turn off. All right. You know what they do with their day. You know what their pain points are. You know where they have fun. You know that they're divorced, they're single, they're just having a baby, they've moved house from Kent, whatever it is, whatever the triggers are that bring them into your world as a referral partner. It's the people that share that same target market who are your natural referral partners. And the reason this is critical is because every client of one of your referral partners is a potential client of yours. It's the same target market. Okay. So once you've got that and you've established, number one, your target market, and then beyond that, your natural referral partners. And this is quite a brain dump I'm giving you here. So if I see steam coming out of your head, Nick, then I'll know to slow down. But no, I'm joking. So that's how you locate or identify who they are. All right. But that's just on a professional level. You've then got to build a relationship with these people. Now, you might already know some of them and have a good quality relationship with them. Okay. And that's awesome if you do. For the ones that you already know, go have a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Go talk to them about their business. Go suggest that, you know what, we've already exchanged referrals a number of times. It might be one only 4 or 5 months or so, but I reckon we're in a pretty good position to amp that up. What do you think? And if you then dropped into the sentence the words, because every customer of yours is a potential customer of mine, and vice versa, then suddenly you've got this incentive to help each other. Because I've got a database here full of customers that you don't know about. And I service them on a weekly, monthly, annual basis, whatever it is. Okay, whatever is your business structure. And at that point, if you already know that these are wonderful people to deal with because you're already exchanging referrals, just attempt to formalize the arrangement, in a friendly manner. I'm not talking contracts here, but let's get together. Let's have a meeting. Let's use this trust that we've got with each other and turn the trust into, and this is the critical factor, turn the trust into the desire to help. Okay, because in the absence of the desire, nothing happens. Desire drives human activity. There's a well-worn tenet in referral marketing and networking, and that is that when people know, like, and trust you, they will refer business to you. Right? Yeah, sure. I bet you guys both have hundreds, thousands perhaps, of people who know, like, and trust you. How many referrals?
I like to think so.
I'm sure you do. But how many referrals are you receiving?
Yeah. Good question.
Yeah. All the people out there who know, like, and trust me, where are my referrals, you buggers?
Exactly. And that's the reason is because of the lack of desire. Okay. So when you have the nature of the conversation that I've just discussed before, and you attempt to, with the right people, this is critical, you attempt to formalize the relationship, then you'll find out who wants to help you and who doesn't. All right. They're still good people either way. You don't know what else is going on in their world. Okay. But if that person doesn't work out, find someone else who has the same target market and is already referring business to you. It may not be in the previous person's profession, but that's how you build it. And that's why I regard networking as a search for referral partners. All right. And so we've talked about locating them and working with them. And I've kind of already jumped to the incentivizing. I'm going to help you if you help me.
Yeah.
I, on a regular basis, come into contact with people who could be your customers. What do I need to know in order to turn them into your customers? What are the referral triggers I need to be able to identify? Once I've identified the referral triggers, what's the language that I need to use to bring these people to you? If these referral partners don't become self-evident, what's the nature of the conversation I've got to have in order to open it up as a general topic of conversation? You start thinking this way, and suddenly referrals just start to come from everywhere. as opposed to keeping a gazillion shallow relationships and they go nowhere.
Is there a fear? And I do see this from time to time, that you could be part of a networking organization. And I don't want to single out here, but it becomes that it is put upon you to become a referrer. So you start to refer, even though it's not good to refer something, a potential opportunity, because it's not right. You're doing it because it's kind of almost forced upon you. I think you know where I'm going with this, but
I exactly know where you're going, David.
People end up spending more time referring other people's businesses than actually even focusing on their own, and probably focusing on the right relationships. So is there a fear, I suppose, or a concern that you could spend more time referring others where it's not necessary or required, and you're missing the opportunities to work with the real diamonds, in the rough, and refer the right business and build the right relationships?
You're spot on. Okay. Some networking organizations place a burden upon the members to refer at a certain rate per week, per month, per whatever it is. All right. I never think that's a good idea, especially in the first 3 months whilst relationships are being developed between members. All right. But that burden that is placed upon members, it's a double-edged sword. Okay. I used to say this all the time in my BNI training, and I'm happy to say it here too. Do you know what the worst thing is about BNI? It's that little bit of pressure you feel every week to bring a referral. Right? Do you know what the best thing about BNI is? It's that little bit of pressure you feel every week to bring a referral. The reason is, everybody has that fear about, can I generate a referral for somebody? And so that makes people feel awkward. Okay. That's why it's bad. But here's the rub. Everyone's there to receive referrals. Someone's got to bring them.
Yeah.
Right.
But should it not happen more naturally? I suppose the point I'm trying to get, should you be referring somebody because they're the right person to refer for the right, at the right time, rather than being forced to go out there and find a referral because you're kind of being graded or marked, whether you can deliver upon that or not? I just think there's a lot of, you're right, it's pressure. And then are you then spending more time trying to fill someone else's desires and someone else's need and requirement than trying to do your own? I know in theory other people are doing that for you. It works back the other way. But that was always the thing I took away from certain networking groups. And you mentioned the word BNI, so we'll throw that in there. If BNI, you're watching this, you're great groups. I'm not going to take that away because I know that people do really well from it and they love it. But it's not right for me and it's not right for everybody. But I just find sometimes that referral program a little bit kind of plastic. It's almost kind of, well, you got to do it. That's just part of being part of the club. And I just think referrals should come from the knowing, the desire and the need and the want to be able to do it, rather than kind of almost getting slapped with a stick to do it.
And I totally agree. And so, but one of the things that if you are in a referral group, okay, people are there for one reason and one reason only.
To get referrals.
They want to get business. They want to get referrals. It's absolutely unavoidable. I used to do a lot of exit interviews when I was in BNI, and on the day people walk out the door, they'll tell you, "Oh, Steve, it was a great chapter. I loved all the people there. Fantastic group of people. I'm going to keep referring business to them." Then I would call them about 3 weeks later. "How are you doing? Blah blah blah. How's work? Whatever." And inevitably, the conversation would turn to BNI, and the real reason comes out why they left. I wasn't getting enough referrals. There are loads of referral organizations that are trying to tempt members with wonderful things, blah, 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 whatever it might be. And they're all great, but they're all in the nice to have category. But I ain't going to hang around to experience them unless I'm getting this one thing I'm here for. And that's business, right? And when organizers or controllers of these groups understand that, then they will reduce significantly the very high levels of churn that exist in many of these organizations, which keeps the relationships shallow. But it also makes a lot of money for the people that own the franchises. Anyway, getting back to your point, David, it coming organically is wonderful. All right. But when referrals come organically, it's hard to plan for them. Right? You're relying on somebody recognizing a trigger that hasn't been organized to recognize that trigger and then respond to it and turn it into a referral for you. As a business owner, you want some sort of control and predictability about your cash flow. So if referral marketing, and it doesn't have to be, but if referral marketing is to be one of the main tenets of the way that you attract business into your company, having a reliable stream is so much better. Yes, it takes away that organic nature. I totally understand what you're talking about, but these are people who are in a position to give them to you and willingly do give them to you, not because of any pressure upon them to refer you, but because the desire is there to refer you, right? It's that desire. People, I was having this conversation with somebody the other day as well. There's often this conflict that goes on between the need or the want or the whatever it is to refer somebody and your own reputation, right? Those two things are sometimes perceived to be in conflict. What if the referral goes wrong and my reputation goes down the tubes as well? All right. But when people have confidence in you and you have confidence in them because you've proven yourselves to each other, all right, then both confidence and referrals can rise at the same time. It does not have to be one or the other, but you got to have that confidence. You got to have that faith, and you got to have that desire.
This is excellent stuff. Thank you, Steve. I'm mindful of time. Before David gets to ask his golden question that he asks every guest, just a quickie really from me. So the idea of building deeper relationships, go and have a cup of coffee, trying to work out some sort of mutual referral kind of strategy, sounds brilliant, right? And I love it. Meet someone, cup of coffee, deeper relationship. In our modern world of far too much of this stuff is done like this across the airwaves, screen to screen, is it proving more difficult, do you feel, to create those deeper relationships?
Proving more difficult, yes. Insurmountable, no. To me, so I always think there's a hierarchy of communications, okay? And sitting face to face with somebody, in a coffee shop, in their office or whatever, that's right at the top, all right? I place this second because we can see each other and we can hear each other. We're using two of the major senses, all right? We're missing a little bit of body language here and there, but I'm seeing your heads nodding and I'm seeing that focused concentration that you've got on your faces, all right? The next one down to me is a phone call, okay? The human voice conveys so much more than information, or in a data sense. Okay, you can use tone, you can use speed, you can use pitch, you can use all sorts of things, and people do it naturally. All right, and so when you're listening to somebody talk on a phone and you're talking as well, and it's going both ways, that's a great way to probably not initiate and develop a relationship, but certainly a great way to maintain one. All right. And then you get to these other levels of communications, emails, text messages, comments on Facebook posts, whatever it might be. Okay. And it's too easy to not see them. And it's also very easy to see them and not do anything with them because I'm busy. I've got distracted. I've got something else that I've got to do. Haven't got time for it, whatever it is. But you try and ignore somebody when they're sitting opposite you in a coffee shop or on a Zoom screen or on a phone call. It's a heck of a lot harder. And so the ability to develop relationships in this virtual world, it's been retarded a bit, but it hasn't been annulled.
Yeah, absolutely. I love everything you've shared with us this morning, Steve. There's been so many great tips in there, things that, resonate with me as well. I've got one question, and while you're responding to that question, I'm going to ask you the next question to follow on from that, your top business tip. But the question would be, I always say no coffee meeting is ever wasted, depending on how you view that. I always think sitting down, having a conversation and a cup of coffee, be it virtually, prefer face-to-face, is never wasted. There's always going to be something, golden nuggets that are going to come from that. But my question is, do you have to refer to get referrals? So you and I, let's just say we started to, do something together and I started to refer to you. would you feel obliged, or would you have to refer back to us? So does it have to be a two-way opportunity, or could it be just someone that just refers to you? So that's my final question before I ask you your business tip.
It's a good one.
Okay. The answer is no. The answer is whatever is acceptable to the two of us. All right. If you are in the position of being the fellow who's given loads of referrals to me, well, thank you very much. So I'm much appreciated. I'm going to try pretty damn hard, Dave, to find you a referral, and I'm pretty good at it, to finding people referrals. So I would go out of my way to assist somebody who was doing that with me on a regular basis. If it's a one-off thing, people do nice things. I do nice things to people all the time, and I don't think twice about it. I'm not expecting anything to come back. That's who I am. I'm getting the very, very strong sense from you guys that you're both givers. Right. And so
it's a bit like Christmas. It's a bit like Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't give to receive. But, I as I say, I do love to connect the dots. I do like to try and introduce people and, see that opportunity beyond what I can help with. And I think it's really important. And hopefully at some point that back scratching will come back the other way, and that referral might drop back the other way. Whenever that will be. I don't kind of keep a list. Maybe I should keep a list of people I've referred to and who's coming back. And
we'll out them on the show, mate. That's what we'll do. Keep a list. We'll out them on the show saying this week, no referrals from the following people. Yes.
That's what we'll do. So, Steve, final question before we have to wrap up and say thank you very much for you joining us this morning. Top business tip. I'm sure it's going to be referral based or something like that, but it could be anything that you've learned on your journey in being in businesses or running business. What would be your top tip? And Nick's going to scribe this down because you never know, it might make one of our top 100 for our book.
I would love it if it happened to make it into a book, but obviously you guys are the editors of that. My top business tip: go through awkward. All right. The business person that you are is the person that you are right now. Okay, you're getting the results. You're tackling the problems that come to you in the way that you tackle them, and you're getting the results that you're getting. But every business owner is aware that there's a better version of themselves sitting just beyond a little bunch of awkward.
Yeah.
All right, and that little bunch of awkward might be learning something new about their business. Okay. And in particular, with what I train people in, it's implementing knowledge. As human beings, we are wonderful at storing knowledge, but big deal. It's the stuff we implement. It's the skills we develop with the knowledge that are going to take us from being the business person that we are, learning, going through the stumbling phase, feeling awkward about it, but then developing the skills and becoming that business owner you would rather be. That's where the gold is. Learn something, put it into practice. Go through awkward. It won't come off perfectly the first time. That's life. Get over yourself. Get on with it. Become that better business owner.
Yeah, brilliant. And finally, Steve, if people want to find out more about what you do, how you do it, I know you run some free training online as well. How can people find out more about you? I can give you a little helping hand here. Hopefully this gives you a bit of a G up.
So thank you very much, Dave. That's very kind. So what people can do, so that's the website, obviously. And if they want to email me directly, that's totally fine as well. Just put steve@referralacademy.com.au in the front of that, where the W should be, and you will be able to connect with me, steve@referralacademy.com.au.
Fantastic. Steve, thank you very much for joining us on the show this morning, sharing all your wisdom and knowledge. Well, a proportion of it, because we haven't got time to do it all this morning. We'll get you back on a future show and we can quiz you more and find out more about referrals and how you're helping people become a better referrer and to get referrals as well. So thank you very much for joining us this morning on The Breakfast Show.
It's been my pleasure, Nick and David. Thank you very much. I've really enjoyed my time here. I appreciate it.
We'll see you soon, Steve.
Nice. Okay.
There you go. Steve Sweeney from the Australian Referral Training Academy, or better known as ARTA. Great stuff there, Nick. I saw your pen wiggling away and the smoke coming from the frantic writing and note-taking.
I've made loads of notes. Yeah. Loads of notes. And I've not just started running a business. I've been running a business for a long time, making loads of notes. Absolutely right. And I think the key note I've made is that desire to help. Right? And generating that kind of relationship where there is a mutual desire to help. Deep relationships versus those multiple shallow ones. Brilliant. Yeah. I tell you, if at the end of each week you think that relationship is either deeper than it was, or there's a deep relationship coming compared to if I got loads of shallow noise, then that's a good week.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking of referrals, Nick, let's play one of our stings for one of our referrers and referees. Here we go. Thank you very much for sponsoring the show.
Awesome. That's the Magical Fuel podcast from Keith Smith. If you've not listened to the Fuel podcast, get yourselves on your podcast channel. I use Spotify, but others are available, and listen to his very well produced podcasts. You need a pad and paper, mate. There's loads of nuggets comes out of that thing. Brilliant.
And he's a great friend of the show, and he's been on the show in the past and shared lots of wisdom as well. Nick, we've got a couple of things to kind of bring us up to the end of the show today. The first one, let's talk about some of the things that have been happening. We talked about it on StreamAid on Monday nights, and I picked up on this, stories, and I want to try and kind of bring them into the show a little bit here and talk about it from a business perspective. Our StreamAid show, and if you haven't watched it, you can find it on all those social channels. But StreamAid is all about us making significant but small changes to help individually from our businesses or personal lives to make change for climate change. Whether that's you do your recycling, or you go big and bold and you go out there and really implement some big changes. But there's organizations out there that are really championing this. And as much as I'm a great advocate, to get these things implemented, one of the things that we spoke about, there's a right way and a wrong way, in my opinion, of doing some of this. And I picked out a couple of the videos. So I just want to share a couple of snippets of the videos. This is an animal rebellion. So let's have a look at this. This is in Waitrose. And this is happening all around the country. It's called milk pouring. Let's see what happens here.
It is responsible for more greenhouse gas emissions than oil giants like Exxon, Shell, and BP. The top 4 dairy companies are responsible.
Okay, just a little snippet there. You can watch all of these. They're all across the media online. But this is happening all around the country, where typically it's the younger generation, and it's because it's their world that lays before us or before them. We're going to probably, you and I, Nick, and they'll be long gone, which doesn't give us reason not to stand up and take note. But that's the first one. And then the second one I want to share with you, which is a little bit more controversial and makes a lot more mouths open and chins drop, is this one.
Security.
That's Vincent van Gogh's Sunflowers, where you saw activists protesting against fossil fuels, and they were seen throwing, or as you just saw, tomato soup on the sunflower painting at the London's National Gallery earlier on this month, 14th of October. Now, my question is, if this was your business, and I appreciate not all of us have the Vincent van Gogh sunflowers hanging up in our foyer, I get that. But if this was your business and someone walked in, or if you were the manager of Waitrose, or you owned a smaller, corner shop or a convenience store or whatever it is, and that happened to you, how would you deal with it? Would you be frustrated and annoyed? Or would you go, well, this is a peaceful protest? Or is it classified as criminal damage? Should those individuals be dealt with? Have you been caught up on the Dartford Bridge fiasco earlier this week, where protesters were climbing and hanging and sitting around in hammocks, and the chaos that caused for logistics, for people going to work? I'm just throwing it out there. I have a personal belief that we should have the opportunity to protest peacefully. But is that the right way? Should we be allowing and kind of almost suggesting that that's the way that the younger generation should be getting their voice heard? There we go, Nick. I know you have an opinion kind of around this as well. I'm not saying you have to share that opinion, but
no, I do have an opinion. Good on them. absolutely right. Okay. Unfortunately, when the protests are that bold, we lose the message in the protest. People will be talking about, oh, do you see that thing where they threw soup over the painting? And they won't be talking about, oh yeah, because of the damage that fossil fuels are doing to the planet. Right? It's sad that the key message, the most powerful message about any of these protests are lost in the noise of, isn't that outrageous? Isn't that frustrating? Isn't that annoying? So it kind of works, of course, because we're talking about it, but we're talking about the protest rather than the issue. And so good on them. Keep going, because the issue is too important to ignore. However, I just wish the media would report the issue. This is the issue that we're trying to combat, and we should all be trying to combat it. And this is the method that some of the brave and courageous are adopting to take that forward. Bound to be inconvenient, but it needs to be something to get the people's notice. I think we should be talking about the issues rather than the there's a bit of glass covering a painting that's got some soup on it, right? If you want to destroy sunflowers, there are multiple ways of destroying sunflowers. For example, drought, flood, heat waves, melting ice, fire, all of which are because of global warming, right? So let's not lose the issue. I feel so. I don't know how we do that, but
I think absolutely. As I say, look, I'm not against people having the voice, the power to communicate, to share their feelings and what they're trying to portray. At the end of the day, I think it's important that we have that freedom of speech and opportunity to do so. But I do think there's a right way of doing it. I just think if that was my business and someone come in and, I'll be honest, started opening up milk and throwing it all over the floor, they'd be getting a quick flick round the ear hole and ejected very, very quickly. If that was my business and my product and my produce, and I've invested my hard-earned money, what gives them the right to come in and do that? Now, okay, this was Waitrose, but at the end of the day, this is shareholders' money. And that's not going to, I don't think it's going to actually get across the message they're trying to intend. I think it's going to piss people off and annoy people more than it's going to attract the real true message, as you say, Nick. It gets washed away. And I just think we need to look at this. And what it's done for me, the whole thing on the Dartford Bridge, I'd love to see what people say on this. I just think that whole Dartford Bridge thing, I think it's annoyed more people and just put people off against these protests. And more I hear is lock them up, throw the key away. They're a disturbance, they're a disruption, they're an annoyance.
Okay, so before we drift off, right, because we've got some other very important
news. Yes.
It's a shame if the issue becomes about something else rather than the key kind of message. I think if the gallery was smart, it would understand its audience, understand the future, and next to the sunflowers, I would be tempted to have some sort of message about if it's something that brings people's attention to the key message that is being shared. And same with Waitrose, right? So Waitrose, okay, a protest that's disruptive, but why don't Waitrose get behind the message as well? Okay, saying we are trying to help, or where is the Waitrose message? Where is the gallery's message?
They're just selling a product or produce, aren't they? They're selling a product or produce. Should they then say, well, we're not going to sell this product or produce because for a minority, the disturbers? It's a show in itself, and that's what StreamAid was about. We were debating it. If you want to watch more of it, look it up, StreamAid.live.com. You can go on there, find out more about what we're doing to, get our voice heard, but kind of a non-offensive way. Let's wrap up the show with some good news, because good news is also important. We have decided through individual suggesting to us that we should do Chatbot Champion of the Week. Professor Alan Barrell, a friend of the show, reached out to us after being on a show a couple of weeks ago and said, David, Nick, why don't you do Chatbox Champion of the Week? We thought, what a great idea. Why didn't we think of it? Well, we didn't. Professor Alan Barrell did. So we have come up with this.
And it's amazing, right? That our Chatbox champion of this week, before we announce it, I'll let you do that, David. This particular person is the number one, in my eyes, referrer, the number one networker, has put, I don't know how many countless people, connected them together and made the world a better place in doing so. And it's an absolute joy to present the award this week. My friend, please make the big announcement.
This is where we have the drum roll. And our Chatbox champion of the week, of course, has to be the founder and the grandfather of Champion of the Week. Yes. It makes perfect sense that the person that come up with the idea, that the one that connects the most dots, creates the most opportunity. When I met with him yesterday, gave me a handful of books for Champion of the Week going forward. So we've got prizes to give out to future Champions of the Week. It made sense that the person that suggested it is the first winner of Chatbox Champion of the Week. So Professor Alan Barrell, we bow down to you. Thank you very much for first suggesting it and being our first overall winner of Chatbox Champion of the Week. We will have more champions going forward. We will take your suggestions, your nominations. If there's somebody in your community, in your business that's making a difference and is worthy of a prize and being crowned Chatbox Champion of the Week, then let us know and we will find out more about what they've done to become that champion. So Professor Alan Barrell, you are Chatbox Champion of the Week. We will catch up. We can't give you a prize of one of your own books, but we will give you one of the signed copies of the first Chatbox book that will be out next year. And Nick and I will sign that. And no doubt, to be honest, Alan, you're probably going to be in it anyway. Thank you very much for joining us this week on the Business Breakfast Show. Nick and I are going to pack our bags. We are going to jump in the cars. We're going to drive off, I was going to say race off, down to sunny Southend-on-Sea, which doesn't look that sunny from the outside my window. If you're around in the Southend area, come and see Nick and I, come along and meet lots of other businesses at the Networking Essex Expo at the Boundary in Southend. We look forward to that. And we look forward to seeing you next week here on The Breakfast Show. Until then, bye-bye.
Cheerio.